Hey guys, welcome back to another breakdown. Tonight we're going to be covering the Bad Batch episode 6. And this was a really fun episode. I gotta say, I really enjoyed it. We finally get a conclusion, or at least, a bit of a story continuation to where Gungi, the Jedi, has been. And if you don't know who he is or don't remember, he was in the Clone Wars. He was a youngling, and he went with Jedi Master Yoda on a mission to Ilum to find his Kyber crystal. Now it seems after Order 66 that he has survived all on his own, which is great. The Bad Batch head out to an outpost to sell something to droids, and it would seem good old Omega once again wanders off to a place where she doesn't belong, and in turn wraps the Bad Batch into an adventure that they didn't sign up for, but one that they enjoyed, and well, so did we watching it. She ends up seeing Gungi getting beaten by some droids, and she puts a stop to it. As more droids come to find them, Echo and the crew save the day and blast the droids until they're all surrounded. We find out that they never were going to kill Gungi, but rather they were going to sell him to their buyer alive. So someone has clearly put a bounty on Gungi, and it may be because he's a Jedi, perhaps a Trandoshan has put a bounty on him, or perhaps the Empire did, or maybe someone we don't know about yet. But I would bet that it's because he is a Jedi, and they want to find all of the surviving Jedi from Order 66. Gungi summons his green lightsaber from the belt of the droid with the Force, and deflects the blasts from the droids. They all get out of there in one piece and blast off in the ship. They talk to Gungi and decide to take him to his people, the Wookies from the planet Kashyyyk. The concern is if the Empire has taken over the planet, they'll have to be very careful when they're there, which of course the Empire has. As they approach the planet, Hunter announces that the planet is releasing a lot of smoke, meaning that the Empire has definitely touched down there and they've blown the place up in different parts. Now, for those who remember, Kashyyyk has a long history. It's a jungle planet, very nature-oriented and natural. Gungi's saber hilt is like a wooden hilt, that's what it looks like. The planet reminds me of what you would think of Jumanji, basically. Crazy alien animals and insects, maybe like a sort of Avatar world. Now Gungi has no memory of Kashyyyk as younglings are taken to be Jedi at infantile stages of their life. So he doesn't know what tribe on Kashyyyk he belongs to, but the Bad Batch hope to reunite him with them. Now, we also did get to experience Kashyyyk in Fallen Order, but before that in the game Force Unleashed, where we start the game off playing as Vader as he fights the Wookies and then meets baby Galen Marek. As they walk through the forest, Gungi and the Bad Batch meet some giant spiders which are like the ones that we fight in the old KOTOR game. As Gungi uses either beast control like Anakin did against the Reek in episode 2 in the Genosian arena, or just communicated with it by not being violent, causing them to step aside, allowing for safe passage. They find a Wookiee being held hostage as Trandoshans ride Imperial tanks and put the surrounding trees on fire. So it's evident the Empire wanted Kashyyyk, and they decided who better to work with than the Trandoshans who passionately hate the furballs. Now, there's a long history between Trandoshans and Wookiees, and I've gone into that in many other videos. Gungi saves the day by igniting his lightsaber, and it's a fun scene, much like the Clone Wars. There's a lot of destruction that's become of beautiful Kashyyyk, sadly, all at the hands of the Empire and the Trandoshans. Now, what I'm thinking is the Trandoshans have enslaved Wookiees forever, we know this, and the two races absolutely hate each other. Now, Bosk and Black Chrysanthemum have fought each other very close to death many times, and it was something that personally I was really hoping to see in the Book of Boba Fett show, but maybe one day we'll see it. Now, that being said, it makes me wonder if the Empire has hired Trandoshans to help them take over Kashyyyk. More about that later. They are met by some Wookiee tribesmen and taken to the Elder of the village, who accommodates them with food and drink. As Trandoshans and clone troopers of the Empire come across the saber slash marks from Gungi's lightsaber, they vow to kill the Jedi who is now on the planet, and are coming for him and the Bad Batch. So now we got Trandoshans who passionately want to kill Wookiees, and clone troopers who passionately want to kill this Jedi. Tech and the Elder discover that this convoy is headed their way when the Bad Batch decide to stay and fight instead of leaving the Wookiees to fend for themselves. They say the Wookiees have been a massive ally to them during the Republic and the war, and they helped fight alongside them, so they wouldn't leave them in this time of need. They speak to the trees spiritually and get ready for war. I love how the Wookiees are very spiritual beings. A massive epic battle ensues, and Gungi proves his worth as a Jedi as he goes up against the leader Trandoshan, who gets picked apart by the spiders, caught in their web, and lifted up into the trees to be probably eaten. Now, I also like this scene because Gungi just deactivates his saber even when the Trandoshan knows that he's outnumbered by Gungi the Jedi and the spiders, instead of just hacking him down and ganging up on him. It was a very Jedi thing to do, and I think that's one reason why I like Gungi a lot, and a lot of people like him, is because he's very peaceful. He's very Qui-Gon Jinn, but he doesn't tolerate bullies, and he does what he can as a Jedi to protect. Now, I will mention that Trandoshans use fire to obviously burn trees and the forest, but this also reminded me of how Boba beat Chewbacca in a fight in the canon comics by putting his fur on fire. Now, Wookiees are notoriously physically powerful creatures, and so are Trandoshans, but, you know, Wookiees have a weakness, and that, of course, is being lit on fire. Much more so than the smooth reptilian-skinned Trandoshans. On another note, for Wrecker to knock out a Trandoshan earlier in the scene with one hit really proves his strength. Those guys don't go down easy. Hunter says they're both just kids, but they don't get to be in this galaxy, which is true and sad because neither of them get to enjoy their youth. Omega with being locked up on Kamino as a science experiment, and then with Gungi running for his life from Order 66, the two have had a really hard time growing up, and they need to grow up fast, which will make them both quite formidable characters when they are fully grown. I think the future of Star Wars with these two characters can be interesting just simply by how much character development that they can establish by the time they are fully grown. The Elder speaks the native language of Kashyyyk, which is called Shiri-Wook, and says when a young one leaves, the trees weep, and when they return, the trees sing. So, if you didn't know, the trees on Kashyyyk have been known to be sentient beings, and they speak to the Wookiees and vice versa. I always loved this nature of the Wookiees. They're very traditional, they're very rooted in their ways, and they're very organic beings. And they have a lot of respect for nature. I think that's something really important. Overall, really enjoyed this episode. It was fun, and it gave us some clairvoyance and a little bit of closure on where Gungi is and what he's been up to. Or at least that he's survived this long. And now he's back on his home planet, and what he's going to be up to during this time. Or is he going to join the Bad Batch? Is he going to go run with them for a bit and join the crew? That could be fun. But it would make them much more heady as they now have a Jedi on their hands. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Gungi moving forwards. And most importantly, who was the one who was trying to buy him? That, to me, is quite important. What if it's Sid? Sid is a Trandoshan, so it could very well be that she was trying to get Gungi. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed today's video and breakdown, and I'll see you on the next episode. Until then, remember, my fellow Jedi and Sith friends, the Force will be with you. Always.